Okay, hello. Welcome to this video. We've had a couple of requests on the Facebook page about how we use the warp, or how I use the warp feature. So it's a bit of a two-part video. The first part, I'm just going to show you where the feature is and some of the things you can do with it, because the warp feature has quite a number of different functions. So what's on screen at the moment is what I'm going to use first of all, and in the second half of the video I'm going to take a roof for a Scalextric car and just show you how I've used the warp feature to help with the profile, help with things like the rounding of things like a windscreen, etc., which can be quite tricky using traditional methods. So this is more of it's surface modelling. It isn't as precise and constrained as using some of the other features. So to get started, we have to click on editing, because the warp feature is not on the top menu here, it's hidden away. So I'll click on editing, and you'll notice, just to confuse us straight away, we get two warps. So we get the one in purple at the very top. That's not the one we want. We actually want the second one down. Change the shape of solids, faces, etc. So I'll click on that, and it comes up with references. So your references, we click on that and it comes up with geometry. So the geometry is referring to your solid piece. So select items, solid piece, and you'll notice it comes up body 1. Direction, you can select an individual plane and just work on a plane. I prefer to click on the default because it then gives me access to all the planes. Now, these are your features of warp. Okay, the last one, sculpt, we'll cover that in the second part of the video where we look at the Scalextric car. So we have the first one, transform. So we click on that, and you'll see all these nodes appear, and we can click on a node or a line, and basically we can transform the object from that point. So you can see different directions appear, and we can squish, change it based on them points. Okay, you'll notice this one is linear, and if I don't like something, I just go back to the list and I can go cross, 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 and get rid of them all. So that was the first one, transform. To be honest, I don't use it that often. Warp, bit similar, but you'll now see when I warp something in a direction, I can get that slanted appearance. So it's going in, it's not scanning the whole thing, it's just scanning it from that direction. So it can be quite helpful. Particularly helpful when we're designing things like chair legs for furniture, if you want to have that sort of angled offset. Okay, and I could go down to another one here, and I could angle it and bring it out and make an interesting design. So that's the warp one. So we just cancel, cancel, take us back to our next one. So I'm not going to cover the spline tool today. You need to have curves and things, so obviously we haven't really got that on this model. Next one is stretch, so I can just stretch it up and down, just like changing the extrude, but it's done by a ratio. Bend I quite like, so we can click on bend, and then we can bend the thing backwards and forwards. And if I want to change the direction, I can click on that bottom, and I can change how it bends around on itself. So again, it's a nice little tool if you need it. The one that we do tend to use quite often in designs is the twist one. So if I click on that one, twist, and this is partly why I put these cutouts on the side, I can twist something round and you can create an interesting effect. So if you're doing some rope and chain, you could have your strands all together and twist them up, tighten them up, and it'd look quite realistic. Okay, so that's the end of the first part of the video. We'll cover the next part in a moment. So thanks for watching. Okay, so now we're going to look at using the warp feature specifically for how I've used it in a Scalextric car. So on here I've got part of a roof for a Scalextric car, and it's quite flat, as in this side here, the windscreen, I want more of a nice gentle curve, so I want it to curve in from this point round into the centre. And the easiest way I found to do that is to use the warp tool. So remember, we click on editing and we're going to the second warp feature, the one that's there in blue. And when that comes up in red, it's asking for references. So the first reference it requires is the geometry. So your geometry is your solid piece, like that. Direction, I prefer to use the default. And once it's done, it will go yellow. And we're going to use the final tool, which we haven't yet looked at, which is the Sculpt tool. So I click on Sculpt, and when I do that, I get a grid mesh appear. And by using the orientation button up here, I can move that around to the different sides. So I actually want that front side. I don't want my warp to affect the whole of the model, so I am just going to pull that forward roughly to the line of that window there. Just back a little bit there. And now what I want to do is I'm going to drag this out. Now I'm probably going to need to add some more rows and columns, so let's just add a couple more on there. And what I want to do is I'm going to start with the line closest, and I'm going to pull that out. Now obviously you can go quite a long way, but I'm just going to go to about there, and I'm clicking on the whole line. So I'm looking to pull out the whole section of that line to create the shape I want. Now what I would do at this point is just to check your profile, is click on this button here, your orientation button, and go to the one that says top, and then press the refit so it comes down. And what I'm just looking at is I'm just looking at that line and thinking, okay, that one's a bit further out, I need to pull these 2 points out. So I'm just going to pull that line a bit more and try and get that one as straight as possible. Now obviously with the warp feature we haven't got any set dimensions, this is all by eye. I could set up work planes and try and line them up, but again it's a bit by eye. So once I've done that, the next thing I'm going to do is mirror the whole piece. So I can click on example roof there, mirror, and I want to mirror against this side. Now when I do that, what I'm checking is that line in the middle. Sometimes you can be a little bit out and you get like a little recess on both sides, so you just go back into your warp and you'd go and edit that line. So sometimes it looks a bit like that and you end up with that sort of thing. So you can just go back and edit. Now the other thing about the warp feature, which I really like, is I can actually create more than one warp. So if I click on Sculpt again, I get another grid and I can move that around. So let's just say you want to do something similar at the back. Maybe this time I'm just going to pull the background, but also I want some more rows going that way. So I've pulled that background. Maybe just in that section, so just take one node, one or two nodes, I just want to pull in that line, just to give it a little bit of a different appearance. It's just something we can do, and again when we warp it we get the profile we're looking for. And because the shell has already happened, that will all be shelled. I could cut out the bottom there and we'd all be good to go for our next part. Thanks for watching. I hope that was useful.